When discussing mutual funds with a prospective client, which of the following things are illegal to discuss with your client when trying to sell them on a mutual fund? A. The income yield or dividend or interest on the fund will equal your profit or your annual return. You should always buy funds to make sure you get dividends and high interest, especially if you're looking for income. Or C. It doesn't matter, my name is Timmy, please slap me in the face. This video is going to be about valuation. In this video, we're going to talk about valuing investments, valuing your magic card collection, and quite frankly, how people cannot valuate their damn magic cards. Every person you ask is going to give you a completely different answer on what the value is of a magic card. You could take a PSA 10 Tabernacle, ask 10 people, and every single person is going to give you a different answer on the value of the card I'm holding right now. And that's what makes things complicated, and that's also what makes many magic cards and LGS stores not stand the test of time and go out of business because they run out of cash flow, because they end up tying up inventory in what they feel is a good investment or a good item to sell or flip online. And it turns out they end up losing their ass. So, this video is going to be focused around what I like to call NAV in financial terms, which is net asset value, or kind of the fair market value, depending what term you use, kind of that NAV, kind of what are things really worth. Well, I like to break things down to three categories. One of which, you have individuals who buy and sell magic cards and kind of collect and play the game. You have the average Magic player. And number two, you have store owners, LGSs, and stores that are just trying to make a damn living. And of course, three, you have the investors. The deep, dark, dirty investors of the card world, the hobby world, and every other pretty much segment of society there is. Whether you want to acknowledge it, you don't like it, doesn't matter. It exists, so I'm going to talk about it. So, I want to go back to, for example, on a card. You can take any $100 Magic card, and you ask an individual Magic player, and he's going to tell you that card's worth $100. You go to the store and say, hey, I want to sell my card. What's it worth? We'll give you $50. What? You go to the investor, and he's telling you how much money he has invested. Oh, I got this $150 card over here. I got $150 invested. And those are the three main pools of people. And all three of these people have such a wide variance of things that they believe are worth and value. And that's what creates the disparity, and that creates the losses and creates substantial gains for some people who are really good at valuing and knowing how to play the game. Literally. For other people, the shit is just fog. It's mist. It's shit they can't figure out. And come on, that is a legendary game, people. That thing changed the world in the direction of computer gaming in the 90s. Okay? If you don't know what that is, you need to literally just rub that thing on your face and you just sleep with it. Okay, so first I want to talk about how people come up with the valuations. First, I'm going to tell you how people come to me, they come to stores, they email me, they try to sell their cards on buy lists. You have all these different types of opinions. And of course, if you're trying to sell your collection, you're going to use the highest valuation you can. If you're trying to buy a collection, you're going to use the lowest valuation you can. And somehow, the high and the low are going to have to meet and agree somewhere in that middle area. And that's where the art of everything comes in. The art of the deal, the art of negotiating, the art of who you talk to, what price point you're using. At the end of the day, I can tell you one thing. TCG mid doesn't mean anything to me. It doesn't, in my opinion, it's something that was invented just as an arbitrary number to appease the public. TCG low is also very disturbingly inaccurate. You kind of got to take like TCG low and mid and take the midpoint between the two and maybe add or subtract 5-10%. It's ridiculous. But at the end of the day, the quickest, most simplest way you can use to evaluate anything, given there is a decent sample size, is you go on eBay, you hit sort by cheapest, you hit buy it now, you look what's available, and then you hit sold listings and see what people actually paid. And not if there's only one. You need a good sample size. I consider a good sample size at least 3 to 5. in case one or two is fraudulent, one buyer didn't pay. If you're above like 5, like if you've got a, $100 card and you go on eBay and it shows the last 5 of these unplayed $100 cards sold for $85, guess what? Your card's worth $85. If you're going to come to a store, that store is going to list that card on eBay for $85 to make sure they can move the product within probably 7 days, 1 week, or 1 month time frame, depending on how aggressive they want to be. If they want to sit for 30 days, maybe 90 days, up to a year, they may raise it from 85 back to 100 to try to get a higher return by tying up the capital. Overall, that's not the way it works. If you come to me and say, Rudy, Timmy the Third here, I want to sell you this $100 card. Come on in, Timmy. I won't hose you. This is Timmy's game store. And you bring in a $100 card to me. Well, first thing I'm going to say to you is the last 5 sold on eBay for an average price of $85 a card. Okay? I'm looking at the chart. They sold for $85, which means I'm going to offer you $60 a card. Because if it sells for $85 on eBay, after fees, eBay, PayPal, 9% plus 3, and then maybe $2 or $3 in shipping, depending on the dollar amount, on 85, I'm looking at netting 85. I'll probably net 70, which means I'm going to offer you $50, so I can make $20 on tying up my money, taking the chance, dealing with scumbags on the internet. A lot of them are. Most people aren't. Don't misconstrue. And I'm going to incur the risk. Since I'm incurring risk, I need a reward. And people have a hard time understanding that. Okay? So that's the first thing I want as a generic intro to this type of video. You need to figure out who you're buying and selling with. Is it an investor? Are you buying and selling with another Magic player, just player to player? Are you trying to sell to a store? Are you trying to sell to an investor who's looking for the lowest possible cost basis to tie up money for long time periods? Remember, most higher end investors in Magic or anything, they use margin, they use leverage, they use lines of credit, they will use capital, and they're usually a good one, and a professional investor of some sort is probably going to use some form of leverage or borrowing of capital, and which is money, and which means they're probably going to pay something. If they're very sophisticated and they have good credit and a good track record, they're probably going to pay something around 3% interest, 2.9%, kind of around prime or prime plus 1 or prime minus 1 range. Okay? And if that's the case, they have to calculate that couple percent interest rate when tying up your money. So, you come to me and you say, Rudy, I've got a box of Revised. I want $2,000. Okay. After getting past the fact of, is it legit? Am I going to get hosed? Am I going to lose money? How do I evaluate this product? Well, a $2,000 box Revised will go on eBay. This booster box is legit. We've already passed that category. And it looks like the box is selling on average on eBay for, hey, guess what? Timmy was right. $2,000. So if the box sells for exactly that, I'm going to say, okay, it sells for $2,000. After fees and shipping, I'm going to net about $1,750 on your box. Okay? If you want to sell it to me, I need literally, if I sell it on eBay, I'm going to walk away with $1,750. So you can take your product, sell it yourself on eBay for $2,000 and net $1,750. That's what the last 5 sold for. You can try for a higher price if you want to wait, or you can go for a lower price if you want a fire sale, depending on the individual's economic strain, anxiety, or situation. And that result is going to vary very, very greatly. So, someone's going to come to me and say, Rudy, I want to sell you a box Revised. Well, it's going for $2,000 on eBay. After fees and shipping, I'm going to walk away with $1,750. I'm going to offer you $1,500. What? That's a ripoff. Well, no, it's not. Or you can take it. You can do all the work yourself. You can hope a buyer doesn't scam you. You can go to the post office. You can move the money. You can hope there's no disputes or chargebacks, and you can take care of it. Again, it needs to be that teeter-totter of risk and reward need to be appropriately aligned. And when they are not, the investment or the placement of the capital will not take place. And it will not be beneficial, and it will not be worth the time, the effort, or the use. Now notice, I'm only talking about sealed product and higher end things. We're not talking about low dollar things that are high labor, very intensive with labor and payroll, because that distorts everything. That's a whole different video. But the thing is, some people get upset when you say, I'm only going to give you $1,500. But Rudy, it sells for $2,000. Then sell it yourself for $2,000, walk away with your $1,750. And if everything goes well, you'll walk away with $1,750. Sit on it and wait for it to go to $3,000 in 5 years. It's your call. You cannot get mad or bitter or salty or whatever you want to call it on stores or different classes of people in Magic based on what your immediate concern is, okay? Because the people who are most successful are going to understand that this is the way it works. And a lot of people don't like this. This is way too much truth for their face. And they're not going to like what I'm saying. But at the end of the day, let's go back. So if you're an individual, okay, and you want to sell your cards for high dollar things, you either need to have connections or somebody who's interested in it. You need to have a local store that has the capital that buys vintage, or simply put, you're going to sell on the internet. And if you're going to sell on the internet, you're pretty much going to use eBay. It is what it is. Or you're going to sell to your local store, or you're going to sell to a friend. And you have to determine the risks and rewards of going each route. Obviously, friend to friend, you give your buddy a discount, but it's usually a cash deal. So again, there's no right or wrong thing is what I'm trying to get at. But at the end of the day, you need to understand why people give you such different answers. Why people in the comment section say, Rudy, that's not worth $100. It's worth $200. You're losing money. Or Rudy, that's only worth $50. You're an idiot. You need to understand the difference on why each person is pointing in a different direction. And you can't turn around and take a group of people and call them all idiots, because they're probably not wrong. Based on their perspective, it's probably accurate. But you need to determine, does your perspective line up with their perspective? So that's what I have to say about individuals trying to buy and sell collections. Okay. Next, moving to the store level. When you're running a store and you're buying and taking in collections, especially sealed product, things like that. First, I'm going to focus on the cards. As a store with a large online presence, do not underestimate the ability for a store to make money buying in low-end bulk cards. 99-cent buy it now rares, 4 for $1, 4 for 99 cents commons on eBay. Do not underestimate the cash that a company or LGS or a properly ran store can make on those type of products. It is very, very fascinating. So, I look at my chart over here. If I say, okay, someone comes into my store, big old box of bulk cards. Rudy, this is worth $1,000. And I go, oh, okay, let me take a look. Again, assuming they're all unplayed. We're not going to get into condition. Assuming they're all below $5. If you have $1,000 worth of cards, and they are all below $5 each, but you have a lot of them, that is a very different situation than one card at $1,000. Okay? A lot of cards that are worth the same amount as a few cards that are worth $1,000 is not the same investment. It is not the same value. Okay? Literally having $205 cards is nowhere near the same as $1,000 pack fresh Mox Ruby, okay, from Unlimited. Because the Mox Ruby is very easy to evaluate. It's very easy to figure out what I like to call a NAV, a net asset value, pretty much a market value, a fair market value. And then I like to use the acronyms, make everyone feel special and educated. But you know, when Timmy number 2 comes in and he has 200 cards at $5 a card, how do you really evaluate that? What do I do? List every card for $4.99 on eBay? And then after shipping and fees, I only net $2 a piece? Well, if every $5 card actually nets $2, that means that $1,000 worth of $5 cards is only worth $400. That's a 60% reduction versus the single $1,000 card, which becomes net $750, which then, I'm sorry, I apologize, net $850. So netting $850 on that 1,000 versus netting $400 on the other 1,000, as you can see, that is the exact scenario that has caused, I would probably say, 30 to 40% of all LGS stores long-term to fail because of misvaluation on inventory purchasing and buy-ins. Buy prices, whatever you want to call it. When they turn around and they do that kind of stuff, it's going to mess up the whole system. It's going to change everything. And when they look at the chart and they say, hey, blah, 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 it's worth this, you need to figure out what is really going on here. because that's the number one thing I've always seen. I get that. Rudy, I have a huge Magic collection worth 10 grand. Oh, how many cards is it? That's the first question I ask. How many cards do you have that's worth 10 grand? Oh, dude, Rudy, I've got there's got to be 100,000 cards. I don't want it. I don't want it. Now, Rudy number 2. Rudy, I got 10 grand worth of Magic. Oh, how many cards do you have? Oh, I got one notebook. Really? Let's talk. Then the next question, what's the condition? And that's the next thing. It is very difficult to move vintage played, moderately played cards. The variance on the price point is extremely high when compared to the variance on pack fresh near mint to mint. So a $1,000 card that is in damaged condition versus a mint condition card that's $2 grand, you're going to have a hard time even getting that played conditions price. You're going to have to deep discount. It has a smaller market size. It's a niche market. You're going to have less investors attracted, less stores. You run into more problems that even though the value of the card is there, people are still going to avoid you. And that's where you run into something different. You run into pretty much the market cap issue. The market capitalization of the total people interested is going to be substantially smaller. Therefore, making your investment or your inventory in the store significantly more illiquid. Without liquidity, you get larger spreads. Larger spreads mean that a $1,000 card could sell for $500. A $1,000 card could sell for $1,300. You could have 40% variances. And again, I apologize for all the words and wordiness, but I get very wound up back in broker land there. But it's not talked about and appreciated enough. So I really wanted to jump on that. So last thing but not least, investors. I want the final tier of this tripod. Investors only care about one thing: cost basis. I don't care how good or bad you are at trading stocks, bonds, mutual funds. Oh, Rudy, I bought Apple stock. Cost basis is the most important aspect of any investment in existence. I don't care if you own Apple stock, IBM, Walmart, or the stupidest, the new marijuana stock, the new gun stock, drugs, Magic, Hasbro. I don't care what you own. It's about cost basis. If you bought Apple stock at $1 a share, you're not watching this video because you're a billionaire. If you bought Apple stock at the all-time high, you may make some money over time, but you're never going to become a billionaire. That's the difference. First to market, the people who are ahead of the curve, not the followers. And that's the thing. And people need to understand and really think about that stuff, because when it comes to the investors, when you're trying to buy and sell from an investor is strictly going to go by margins. Did they gain or did they lose, and by what percentage? And those are usually going to be the most sophisticated group of Magic buyers and sellers, I guess you could say. And those are going to be the people that may be the most difficult to work with, because they're very firm, they're very stubborn, they're very stuck on what number they need to hit. They are not afraid to walk away from a deal because you won't go down $1, because they know what their margins are. And the successful investors are going to be very disciplined. They're going to look at their charts and they're going to be like, all right, this is where we need to be. This is my time. They're going to know exactly what they're looking for. Okay, and that is going to make a huge, huge difference to a lot of people. And once you accept that, and once you realize when you're trying to buy and sell who you're directly dealing with, I think that's really going to make it easier for people to navigate a large transaction. Where I don't, a lot of you may not do a lot of large transactions, but at least you'll understand kind of the mindset of where someone's coming from, So I'm comparing this all because a lot of these terms and things came from mutual funds, exchange traded funds, and fund of funds, the most illegal bullshit item in existence, mutual funds. And, you really have to understand how it works. And I know I'm kind of drilling that one line in, but I think it's kind of imperative, and I don't think it gets enough credit. So that's really all I have to say. Like I said, that's kind of how I look at everything. And I'm sure a lot of people use different strategies. A lot of people use Puka Trade. A lot of people use Craigslist. A lot of people just, buy and sell in parking lots. And that's all cool. But overall, when you get into larger dollar amounts, you're going to run into people that are literally going to travel to you, or they're going to come, you're going to go to them. And it's probably going to be money order, cashier's check, depending on what you're buying and selling, depending on the risk of it being authentic. It depends where you are on that scale. versus where you want to be on that scale. And that's going to make a big difference in everything. And that's all I really have to say about it. Like I said, the biggest thing is people just misvalue everything. So to wrap it up, I look at eBay. I go to the cheapest price. I look at what's currently for sale to look at some market depth, and I look at what's already been sold. And I try to see, are there 20 listings of the game missed on eBay? And I go to sold and no one's bought it? Okay, well, has no one bought it because nobody wants it? Or is it because the 20 people selling it are trying to sell a $20 game for $1,000? Which of these items is out of whack? The price point or the actual nobody wants the damn thing? And once you start kind of honing in on that, it's going to give you a better feel and a better idea and understanding of kind of what to look for and how to make money at it. Because stores fail. People get burned, they get angry, they leave the game. Investors run out of liquidity. It's all the same thing, and it all comes back to usually getting hosed, misvaluing the asset, or screwing it up some way like that. So at the end of the day, you have to figure out the net asset value, the NAV, or the fair market value of your Magic cards, your collection, and then determine who you want to go battle against to really try to get the best yield. And if you want to put the work into it yourself, that's a big difference. So it's Rudy with Alpha Investments. All I really have to say. I hope you guys appreciate everything. Oh my God, I'm excited. New Commander's coming out in a few days. Pallets are starting to show up. And patrons, I love you guys to death. You guys are pretty much what's make this channel going and why I'm putting the time into all these videos. I hope you guys are enjoying it. I told you, not going to be another Pokemon video probably till the weekend or next week. So back to doing Magic stuff. And again, just be very careful on evaluation. That's how a lot of people get overly excited on tying up money, and then later on they realize, oh shit, I didn't make any money. So that's all I have to say. Always look through the mist. Make sure you see clearly. Have a fantastic day.